Okay, it says that we're live, so just going to go ahead and get it started. All right, Shalom. First and foremost, we want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rachakodash. Double honors to the apostles, and that was a great millstone, and peace and salutations to the elect. Okay, this is going to be a lesson, a series that we're going to be going into the book of Amos, and we're going to start today with this lesson. We're going to start with Amos chapter 1. So, Amos was a prophet, of course, of Israel. A prophet to Israel, but actually he dwelt in the land of Judah before he was called. And so, there's a lot of prophecies in the book of Amos that pertain to today. We're not going to get to all of the prophecies in the book. We're just going to start with the first chapter. But there's a lot of nations that are addressed. So Lord willing, it's edifying when we go into the various different locations of these nations that are addressed and what happened. The history that happened back then goes to show you the same mentality of these nations, these other nations today, not just Esau, but these other nations as well. Okay. So did you have any opening statements, Aquan?
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same thing when you go back through the history, no matter which prophet you're reading about. You had the so-called powers that be that had us in captivity. Then you had the prophet that was prophets unto the nations. You see, even though we Israelites, we got to preach to the whole world. You see, I'm talking about the Orcomany world, including everybody world.
Okay.
You see, so the other nations know their judgment. Israel know the judgment because the Lord is going to judge everybody. Right. You see, and when you look at Amos, the way you when we start to read Amos, you're gonna be able to see how it is today because you got the same things going on, man. You got the same things going on when you're looking at the prophecies, when you're looking at the nations that's involved, the key players, and how these things are going. Because now, when Israel find out that they Israelites, it's all a party. It's nothing but a party from that point on. You see?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we're the Israelites. Oh, we're the Lord's chosen people. That's what's up. The heathen going into slavery, whoop-de-whoop, blah-de-blah, heathen. But then as you keep on reading it, Amos, you see that he getting on Israel too. What you mean we wicked too? Yes, you are. And this is why. You see, the same spirit is in the earth today. The prophets are prophesying to the nations as well as Israel that the Lord is going to judge you, man.
Con, that's right.
Go ahead.
Con. Yeah, I'm just setting up some precepts here. Rashad, bear with me. Yeah, we're gonna get to all of that. When it comes to Israel, Israel isn't really addressed as much as these other nations. But when it comes around to Israel getting addressed in the third chapter, which we're not going to get to today, but when it comes around to Israel getting addressed, it continues on for like pretty much the rest of the book. So.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to get heavier as we go along with this series, but we're going to start with Amos chapter 1, and I got my screen share here, so let me just go ahead and transfer this over. So I'll go back to the top. All right. Make sure this can be seen here. Add this to the stream. Okay. Can you see my screen here, Zaquan?
Done.
Okay, cool. All right, so we're going to start with Amos chapter 1. Verse 1, it says, the words of Amos, who was among the herdmen of Tekoa, which he saw concerning Israel in the days of Uzziah, king of Judah. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack here in this first verse. So first of all, let's actually get what Amos means and how to say it in the Hebrew. This is important because all of the Hebrew names actually mean something. This is the word here for Amos. Strong's H5986, I'm a was, which means burden or burdensome. And the root word is Amos, which is a verb, which means to carry a load, to be laden with something, to impose a burden upon something. Okay. So I'm a was is like the noun version or the adjective version of that verb there, which means a burden or burdensome. Okay. Which is a spirit, because he put a spiritual burden, on all of these with all these prophecies that the Lord was speaking through him. You put a burden on the ears and in the hearts of the individuals or of the nations that he was addressing. Okay. Now it says who was among the herdmen of Tekoa. So a herdman, literally like a sheep keeper or a shepherd. He was a regular, shepherd. He was a regular, so-called a regular guy, right? When the Lord called him into the ministry.
Not a coincidence that he was a shepherd. So
Right.
you keep on seeing these shepherds pop up in the scriptures, and they take on these roles of watching over the flock, bringing our people to repentance. Letting them know the Lord's instructions. Every time. If you love me, feed my sheep. If you love me, feed my lambs. Oh, Amos did that too, in his daily life and spiritually. You see,
right.
So when you look at the daily lives of our forefathers and you look at their spiritual lives, you can put yourself in those shoes. It's okay. Go ahead.
That's right. And it says who was among the herdmen of Tekoa. Now, Amos speaks a little bit more to this. I'm going to jump to Amos chapter 7. I know eventually we're going to run into it again, but I'm going to just get this real quick. In Amos, the 7th chapter, he talks about how he was pretty much just a regular occupation individual before the Lord called him into this ministry. And so it just says, like yeah, exactly. Amos chapter 7, verse 14, it says, then answered Amos and said to Amaziah, I was no prophet, neither was I a prophet's son, but I was an herdman and a gatherer of sycamore fruit. And by the way, there was an actual school of the prophets during this time, what was known as the school of the prophets, like for example, Elijah and Elisha, they were they had that school of prophets. Even if you go into, I believe it's 2 Kings, the 1st chapter, where it talks about Elijah being caught up, okay, or around the beginning of 2 Kings. If you read about it, or if you read into that chapter before he gets caught up, he has a bunch of he's going from city to city, and there's like a bunch of other prophets or students that were following him and talking to Elisha. If you read that account, and so but this specifically notes.
Pull up the word college.
Okay, like just the dictionary meaning of it,
like El Centro in the scriptures. Okay. Pull up college.
Just search it. Okay, Salakia, I got you.
Yeah. Yeah. You see that? Where is that at? Is that what you're referring to? In Kings?
Well, yeah. Well, this is an account of it.
Let's look. Yeah, let's look at it. Yeah, let's get into it.
Okay, Khan. Well, all right. Well, let me just go to I'll read this and then I'll go to the one I was talking about. This is 2 Kings chapter 22, verse 14, because there were multiple schools and multiple colleges, man.
Right.
Israel it wasn't just one, place to learn. But this is 2 Kings 22 and 14. It says, so Hilkiah the priest and Ahikam and Akbor and Shaphan and Asahiah went to Huldah the prophetess, the wife of Shalom, the son of Tikvah, the son of Harhas, keeper of the wardrobe. Now she dwelt in Jerusalem in the college, and they communed with her. So this is one account of a college, that the Israelites had, okay, specifically in Jerusalem. And if you get the word, like the elder said, get that word college, a couple of words in this. Okay, here we go. That word college is Strong's H4932, Mashana. Okay, and says next, second order. Let me see here. A copy, repetition, a copy. So basically, like where the copies were held, because you have to duplicate documents in order for them to continue on to the next generation. And so everything was handwritten back then. So the college was where where you could find a duplication of things. Okay. Which is spiritual. That's dope. A copy of a document.
And that's what I'm saying. The original colleges were to keep up with the documents, stay in contact with the history and all these different things. You see, now you have colleges today, but the colleges of today, they push who's ruling the agenda. You see, so like you said, you can always go back into the past to see what's going on in the future. It was an institution that was built up to keep documents and records, you know what I'm saying, and also to push forth doctrine. You got it.
Gone. Okay, you know what? Let's go back. Let me look for this. Okay, yeah, it's in 2 Kings, the 2nd chapter. Not the 1st chapter. Let me go back to sharing my screen here.
That's what I'm saying. Think about this. As much as the Israelites write things down and document things and all these different things, how could it possibly have been billions of years without nothing written down? It's no coincidence. It's no coincidence. It's no coincidence that we as the Israelites documented and scribed every doggone thing, man. That's what I'm saying. Because it started with us. You know what I'm saying? The history and all these different things, man, that apply to Israel. That's what I'm saying. The history of the world is contained in the Bible. Like literally the whole history of the world is contained in the Bible, along with the present and future. And it was the same way. It was the same thing with the prophets of old. You know what I'm saying? They had things that they went by according to the scriptures.
That's right.
They had scrolls. They had to read just like us. Go ahead.
Hey, because I believe you mentioned this in a previous lesson that we did, saying hardly do we guess it right, you know, in the Apocrypha, but the scriptures say that which was written aforetime was for our learning. So we're supposed to learn from our previous past mistakes. But if that's why Jake doesn't want to hear this Bible, man, because it cuts them. You know, when you actually look into what we did back then and you understand that the reason why we're in the current situation that we're in now here in America is because of what the same things that we did back in the wilderness. Okay, same things that led us to go into the Babylonian captivity, the Medo-Persian captivity, so on and so forth. It's because of our disobedience to the Lord. So that's why it's important to go over, you know, these accounts. And it's our history. Esau, I want to give you Black History Month. Well, this is the real so-called Black history, but it's not Black. It's Israelite history. Okay.
That's right.
So this is the reference that I was alluding to in 2 Kings chapter 2. And I'll just start at verse 1. And it came to pass when Yahweh would take up Elijah into heaven by a whirlwind, that Elijah went with Elisha from Gilgal. And Elijah said unto Elisha, tarry here, I pray thee, for Yahweh hath sent me to Bethel. And Elisha said unto him, as Yahweh liveth, and as my soul liveth, I will not leave thee. So they went down to Bethel. And the sons of the prophets that were there, you see that? The sons of the prophets, or the school of the prophets, that's what it was referred to as the sons of the prophets. Those were a group of prophets that pretty much, like the Lord told Elijah, I have preserved 7,000 men that have not bowed the knee to Baal, roughly paraphrasing. Okay, so these were the sons of the prophets. We're like we say, the prophets have always been on the scene. Just because it was just a few prophets by name that were mentioned at a particular time doesn't mean that there were not a whole slew of other prophets that were learning, and that they may not have been named necessarily. Just like today, we have brothers that have a little bit more notoriety throughout Israel. Well, starting with the apostles. The apostles are great millstone, right? Apostle Tahar, Apostle Gabar, Apostle Rakah, Apostle Ramlah, and then you have the elders of the camps, okay? And then there's just regular brothers like me, that are also teaching His word. So that's what was known as the sons of the prophets, and that was really the point,
Gone. That's what I'm saying. So if it was sons of the prophets back then, there would have to be sons of the prophets now. You see, for those that can receive it, those prophets came back and they lots.
Kind,
Go ahead.
Kind of says it says, and the sons of the prophets that were at Bethel came forth to Elisha and said unto him, knowest thou that the Lord Yahweh will take away thy master from thy head today? And he said, yea, I know it. hold ye your peace. And so Elisha, he had a very close relationship with Elijah. But the sons of the prophets were telling Elisha, look, the Lord gonna catch Elijah up, right, into the chariot. And so this wasn't just like some secret thing that only Elijah knew. Okay, that Elijah and Elisha knew. It was also known amongst the sons of the prophets because they all had that same. They were all close to the Lord like that. So that was the point on that. Let's go back to Amos chapter 1. Or excuse me, I'm sorry, Amos chapter 7, and then we'll go back to Amos 1. It says, then answered Amos and said to Amaziah, I was no prophet, neither was I a prophet's son, but I was an herdman and gatherer of sycamore fruit. So that's why it says here he was not a prophet, nor was he a prophet's son, because he's strictly notating that, look, I didn't come from the sons of the prophets, but the Lord called me to do this work. Right. And it says in verse 15, and Yahweh took me as I followed the flock, and Yahweh said unto me, go and prophesy unto my people Israel. Now, therefore, hear the word of the Lord, Yahweh. Thou sayest, prophesy not against Israel, and drop not thy word against the house of Isaac. So before we, get to that chapter, that's just kind of like a precept to Amos chapter 1. Let me go back to it. Okay, just kind of getting like a what's the word? Just to kind of set the tone. Yeah, overview the water of his upbringing. And then it says, who was among the herdmen of Tekoa, which Tekoa was a city. Well, we can get that word too. It was actually a city in the southern kingdom. Now, if you look into it, Amos, he really was sent to prophesy unto the northern kingdom, okay, the kingdom of Israel, but he was from the southern kingdom. Okay, but Tekoa was kind of like a city that was on the edge. Well, I'll get the map, but that word Tekoa is Strong's H8620 Y, and it says a stockade. Let me see here. It says a town. Here we go. A town in the hill country of Judah. You see, so it was like a suburb of Judah near the city of Hebron, which was built by King Rehoboam of Judah, and it was also the birthplace of Amos. So again, this was a city located in the country of Judah, okay, the hill country. And as you brothers should know, the northern kingdom, the nation of Israel was split into the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom at this time. And it says he prophesied during the days of King Uzziah, okay, the king of Judah. I should probably pull up a timeline. You want to say something, Zaquan? Let me see if I can pull a timeline up real quick.
Gone. That's what's up. What you said you about to look for?
I'm about to look for a timeline of just to kind of show brothers where we're at in the timeline of Israel.
Gone.
Just to kind of get a visual, man, because there's a lot of names that are named that like right. You kind of have to get. For me personally, I'm a visual learner, so I'm gonna just see if I can pull something up real quick.
Oh yeah. But yeah, like when you get like we were saying, when you get into these historical accounts, you have to be able to understand through the spirit that you live in these same things, man. The places that you surrounded by, the people that you surrounded by, you know what I'm saying? The place where we go to camp, all those different things are brought up in the scriptures. You see, it ain't no way to get around it. If you understand that history repeats itself, if you understand the situations that our forefathers had to deal with, if you understand the situations that you're dealing with, only thing that's changing is the technology. But the concept don't go away. You see?
Okay. All right. This is the timeline that I actually use for brothers who want to screenshot this, or you know what? I might even just post a link to this in the description on this video because this is a very, very helpful timeline that I use. I've been using for a couple years, and so pretty much you can. I'm gonna zoom in on Amos's name right here. You can't really. see it. I can let me zoom in too much further than that. But Amos, it says Amos, and you can see this is the year 800 BC, 700 BC. So this is a timeline from David's lifespan to Solomon, all the way up into the beginning of the Medo-Persian Empire when we returned from the Babylonian Empire. So this is really good because it names the prophets that prophesied to Israel in the northern kingdom, the actual names of the kings of the northern kingdom, and also the names of the kings of the southern kingdom, the kings of Judah, and the prophets that prophesied during their respective times to the kings of Judah. And
now, keep in mind, you got kings in captivity though.
Yeah.
How you you got kings in captivity? You know what I'm saying? Fast forward to today, you got all these different Israelite camps. The head of the camp is the king. You know what I'm saying? Nate is the king of IUIC.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You got the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. You know, General Yohana. You know, they're the kings of their congregation. But that's what I'm saying. But they in captivity though. Okay. And you're gonna notice that our leaders, you're gonna notice that our leaders in captivity, they wiggle. Right? Therefore, that's why Amos has to say the things that he's saying. Go ahead, bro.
That's right. That's right. And also too, so the reason why I pulled this up is so that we can get an accurate understanding of these names. And, you know, it's basically, I mean, of course you have to read the scriptures. You can't just, you know, expect to learn the Bible just by looking at this timeline. Right. But this is a great reference to let you know, okay, Amos was a contemporary with Jeroboam, the king of Samaria, okay, in the northern kingdom, and then the king of Uzziah of the southern kingdom. He was a contemporary with that. And then it also names the kings of the other nations that ruled during that time, that were in power, I should say, during that time.
That's what I'm saying. So now you got the heads of all these Israelite camps, whether it be the apostles, whether it be Nathaniel, whether it be General Yohana, whether it be Elder Ricard of GOCC, Elder Zabak of HOI, so on and so forth, right? But then in the provinces that they are in captivity in, you got the mayors and the governors, and you got Biden, and you got all these losers, right?
Right.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Trying to bring out the word in captivity.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying. So you'll have a contemporary. Bro, Tucker Carlson and all kind of dudes that came down to talk to the apostles. You see? Yep. That's what I'm saying. This happened. Also keep that in mind. This actually happened. Right? It was a man named Amos that was a regular dude that the Lord put the spirit on him.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with you. Let's go.
All right. So it says, the words of Amos, who was among the herdmen of Tekoa, which he saw concerning Israel in the days of Uzziah, king of Judah, and the days of Jeroboam, the son of Joash, king of Israel, 2 years before the earthquake. Okay. It says in verse 2, and he said, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, will roar from Zion and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the habitations of the shepherds shall mourn, and the top of Carmel shall wither. So
that's what I'm saying. The Lord's gonna have his men push the word out, man, to warn everybody. Let everybody know, look, this is what's about to go down. Mm-hmm. He always sent his prophets out first. It says the Lord God will do nothing, but he revealed his secrets to his servants, the prophets. You see? Amos wasn't even of the school of the prophets, but the Lord used him anyway.
That's it.
Amos is another representation of the Lord doing what he wanted to. I want to put the spirit on you for you to speak my word. And that's what you're going to do. Go ahead.
It says, and by the way, all of these cities that were mentioned, Zion is particularly is a name of, is symbolic of Israel. And in Jerusalem was a city in Judah, and the habitations of the shepherds shall mourn, and the top of Carmel shall wither. These were all locations in Israel. Okay, northern and southern kingdom, and so specifically Carmel was the Mount Carmel was where Elijah confounded the 450 prophets of Baal, for example. So there was history, in these places that were mentioned. Of course, we know about Jerusalem being the capital city of the nation, but pretty much, it's letting you know, like the elder said, the judgment is going to be going out. Same thing you're seeing today. Okay, but this is the Lord doing that. The Lord speaking through his prophets. Okay, so it says in verse 3, for thus saith Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Damascus, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof. And so where it says for 3 transgressions and for 4, it's pretty much talking about we know how iniquity is sin stacked on top of sin, right? So I'll get the precept in Revelation, the 18th chapter, real quick.
And when you in captivity, that's what I'm saying. When you in captivity, you at the mercy of the other nation. You see, and that's what I'm saying. Those transgressions continue to pile up and pile up and pile up, and the Lord is letting you know that, look, now is the point to where it's done.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, this is concerning Babylon the Great, but it's the same concept. Revelation 18:5, it says, for her sins have reached unto heaven, and the Most High hath remembered her iniquities. Okay, that's that 3 transgressions and for 4. It's the same thing.
That's right.
Iniquity is sin stacked on top of sin, and it's time for that debt to be paid. That's what's being insinuated here in Amos 1 in verse 3. Now Damascus is the nation of Syria. Okay, you have the Syrians, and then you have the Assyrians. They're two different nations.
Right.
Okay, and so Syria was Israel's rival to the north, and so just kind of getting a little bit of history. A lot of this history is documented in First Kings and in Second Kings. So we're going to get a little bit of it just to kind of set the tone for Damascus and Israel's relationship with Damascus or Syria. They're synonymous.
Right, which is necessary for the understanding, man. You see, you have to know what it was like during that time. For the Lord to call out your transgressions, he done counted them up and he done. That's big. You see, the scriptures talk about touching the apple of the Lord's eye.
Okay.
You see, so for the Lord, that's what I'm saying. Because the Lord, he goes in on certain nations. You see, and you have to be able to identify those nations today. All right, you got it.
All right. So I'm gonna actually get a map first, just to kind of put things together.
Hey man, get into these maps. Get into these maps, man. They help. They help, man. A lot of people be. I'm just gonna say it. A lot of people too lazy, man. That's what I'm saying. Salvation, bro. All you gotta do is read and study for salvation. Come on now. That's what I'm saying. You gotta know these maps. You gotta know different languages, at least a little bit, enough for the understanding.
Right.
Hell, we showing you how we do it. The apostles and elders that showed us the blue letter. They go into it on camera. We do what they did. I mean, of course, the spirit got to be working, but that's what I'm saying. You get to see your favorite superstar at practice doing what he. That's what I'm saying. You get to see him doing push-ups and sit-ups and squats and all that. Then you get to see him hit 50. What else you want?
Con.
Look it up, nigga.
That's right.
That nigga. Yeah, yep. Since y'all think y'all can teach too, you get your ass in the book. Sick of all these questions and no answers.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The scriptures say, "Blessed is he that readeth." Man, we're in the information age, man. The elders, back in the old school, the elders, apostles will tell you, well, I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that there was no internet. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, you had to go to the library and look this stuff up. To the college,
There you go.
But this map here is from What's website is this? churchofjesuschrist.org. And then, they have a bunch of different other maps, but this is a physical map of the Holy Land. So this is a good one because it kind of shows all of the neighboring areas. All right. So we just read Amos 1 and 3 concerning Damascus, right? So Damascus was a city located on the north of Samaria. So you have Samaria right here. I can't highlight it, but you can see it here. Samaria. This is what consisted of the northern kingdom of Israel. Okay. And then to the south was the southern kingdom. Okay. And so Damascus right here was the city, but it was the Syrians dwelt here. And pretty much I'm going to get the precept, but the Syrians and the northern kingdom of Israel were at war with one another constantly from its inception, from basically Jeroboam, right, which was the first king of Israel, up until the Assyrians took them over. And so let's get that precept real quick in 1 Kings chapter 1. And by the way, Aram is Syria, is Damascus. It's all the same thing. It's the same nation. The nation of Aram are the Syrians. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, not the same as the Assyrians, different nations. But anyway, this is 1 Kings chapter 20, verse 1. It says, and Ben-Hadad, the king of Syria, gathered all his hosts together, and there were 32 kings with him. Like you said, Elder, there's multiple kings. The king of Syria had 32 kings with him, right? It says, and horses and chariots, and he went up and besieged Samaria and warred against it. So again, Samaria is the northern kingdom. It's Samaria is the landmass that the northern kingdom inherited. Okay, Upper Galilee, Lower Galilee, Nazareth, and Samaria. Samaria is all pretty much the northern kingdom. When you hear Samaria, if you go on the Blue Letter and you type in Samaria, it's talking about the northern kingdom. Okay, the 9 tribes, that consisted of the northern kingdom. Okay, and so you can
because it was if I say abhor when Jake be saying abhor not an Edomite. You know what I'm saying? It's not actually Edomite right there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It goes into the Syrians. Abhor not abhor not
an Aramite or
there you go. There you go. So when you get in that mind state, then you understand what this is going into. You see? You got it.
Yep. And so you can read the history on that. We're not going to get into that, but just to prove to you that the Syrians, not the Assyrians, but the Syrians were at war with the northern kingdom for a good period of time. This is what is being addressed here in Amos, the first chapter. Okay. And it says, for 3 transgressions of Damascus, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they have threshed Gilead with threshing instruments of iron. So pretty much Gilead was we'll go back to the map. You can see here Gilead here on the right. I'm not sure if you can see my mouse, but Gilead here was also a landmass of that belonged to Israel. I believe the Manassites were this was like their land inheritance. Okay, so they would come down. Right, here's Damascus here up here to the north. They would come down through Bashan, and they would jack up Gilead and infiltrate Samaria at various points. So there was a constant war between the Syrians and the northern kingdom. And so because of that, right, and that history is located in 1 Kings 20. We're not going to get into that. You read it on your own time. But because of that, it says in verse 4, I will send fire into the house of Hazael, which shall devour the palaces of Ben-Hadad. Okay, now Hazael and Ben-Hadad were kings of Damascus. Okay, and if you go back to it's kind of like a cheat sheet, really. This timeline here, you can see the names here, the kings of Aram / Damascus / Syria, they're all the same. It's the same nation. Ben-Hadad the first and the second, and Hazael, and Ben-Hadad the third. These were all kings of Damascus, kings of Syria. Okay, and so the Lord said, because of the affliction that you put upon my people, right? The Lord said He's gonna send a fire into the houses of these kings and devour the palaces of Ben-Hadad. Okay, it says, I will break also the bar of Damascus and cut off the inhabitant from the plain of Avon, and him that holdeth the scepter from the house of Eden, and the people of Syria. Again, it's the same nation. The people of Syria shall go into captivity unto Ker, saith Yahweh. Now,
that's what I'm saying. That's just like us out on the highways and byways saying that the self-proclaimed white man is going into slavery for all the transgressions that he's done.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing.
That's right.
That's why the scriptures say these things that were written aforetime for our learning. You see, when you're going through what you're going through, as far as your daily life or your spiritual life, you can look back into our forefathers. You can look back into the school of the prophets and see how they handle things. Because we ain't going through nothing that they didn't go through. You got it.
Con. Yep, and we're gonna get to Esau, but these other nations ain't off the hook, and this shows you, man. Like the Lord is gonna jack up all of these nations, man. All of these nations, they've all had us in captivity at one point or another. Okay, and this is just going a little bit more in depth because we talk about Esau till we're blue in the face, but these other nations ain't getting a pass either, man. They're all going into captivity in the kingdom.
Yep, that's right. And two-thirds of the nation of Israel, gonna be judged.
That's right.
That's a nation in itself.
That's right.
Go ahead.
Con. Okay, so so this was actually fulfilled when it comes to this specific prophecy where the Most High said He's going to break the bar of Damascus and cut off the inhabitant. Okay, this was fulfilled. I'm going to get that scripture. Now of course there's other things that have been done since then that will lead to them getting jacked up again. Okay, but when it comes to certain prophecies were fulfilled at least to a certain degree. This is 2 Kings chapter 16, and you can read the whole account. The point is in verse 9, so I'm gonna just get straight to the point. Okay, it says 2 Kings 16:9, and the king of Assyria hearkened unto him, for the king of Assyria went up against Damascus. Again, Damascus is Syria, and Assyria, or Ashur in the Hebrew, there are two different nations. Okay, Aram and Ashur, those are two different nations.
Right.
Assyria is Ashur, okay, and Aram is Damascus or Syria. Now it says the king of Assyria went up against Damascus and took it, and carried the people of it captive to Ker and slew Rezin. So there's right. the account right there that the Assyrians, the Lord used the Assyrians to jack up the Syrians, okay, or Damascus.
Damascus falls.
That's it. Yeah. Well, yeah. And there's more into that. You can go into the history's there. The history's there. We can read all the chapters, but we'll never get past the first chapter of Amos if we do that. So I'm trying to get to it. So that's the point there on Damascus, right? So now we go into another nation. Okay, Amos 1:6. Thus saith Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Gaza, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they carried away captive the whole captivity to deliver them up to Edom. Now Gaza is the Philistines. Okay, now let's go back to this map. It's going to help us a lot. Let me see here. This map here. Now Gaza. Gaza was a city here. You can see here. I'm going to zoom out so you can kind of see to scale where it was at. Okay. Now Gaza was a city on the coast of the Mediterranean Sea. Okay. Now, again, Gaza, whenever you read Gaza in prophecy, that's referring to the Philistines. Okay. This is the plain of Philistia. And so you have Ashkelon, Ashdod, Ekron, Lachish. All of these 5 cities here were cities. Well, Lachish, sometimes it was occupied by Israel a little bit more, but especially Ekron, Ashdod, Ashkelon, and Gaza. Anytime you read about these cities, for the most part, it's going to be referring to the Philistines, okay, which were, if I'm not mistaken, those were Cushites, okay, which were Hamites from the nation of Ham. And so the history on that is expounded upon here. It says, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they carried away captive the whole captivity to deliver them up to Edom. Okay. And so the history on that was that pretty much when you go into the commentaries, they helped Edom by kind of like always being at war with the Israelites, always being at war with the southern kingdom specifically. King David, he had subdued the Philistines during the time of Solomon. There was that 40 years of peace, but after King Solomon died, there was a time period where they started going back to war again. And the Philistines they were selling the Israelites away, and they didn't even need to. It's not like they needed to sell them away. They just they just did it for money, pretty much for extra money. So it was kind of like
they had to fulfill prophecy.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So it was kind of like unwarranted. Like, obviously when you win a battle, you're going to take prisoners of war, but just like the scriptures say in Zechariah, the 1st chapter, man, the Lord is sort of displeased with the heathen, okay, right, because he was a little bit displeased with Israel. So he used the heathen to judge us, but the heathen helped forward the affliction. They went overboard, to the point where it's like, okay, now the Lord's going to jack these other nations up for doing too much, And so in verse 7, and if you have any precepts or any points of quality, Balkashah, stop me, but I'm just going to kind of go with the flow here.
No, you got it. You got it.
It says, but I will send a fire on the wall of Gaza, which shall devour the palaces thereof. So, keep in mind, it wasn't just, one city. Okay. These little red dots are big. They were like big cities, but there were many smaller other little, cities that were walled. You can see down here at the bottom. I don't know if you can see this, but you can see kind of to scale how much the distance between some of these cities were. Some of them were, 10, 15 miles apart. So in between them, you might have had smaller, little cities around it. And so all of these little cities in this area of the Philistines were condemned. Okay. The Lord said that he was going to devour the palaces thereof. Okay. And cut off, in verse 8, and I will cut off the inhabitant from Ashdod. There's another city that we saw on the map. And him that holdeth the scepter from Ashkelon, another city. And I will turn mine hand against Ekron. So all of these cities are named Ashkelon, Ashdod, Ekron. You see that all in the same area. And
now keep in mind. Now keep in mind. This is what Amos is telling the people. Mm-hmm. This is the message that he's spreading, right? He's letting these other nations know that they're about to get judged.
Yep.
All the surrounding Israelite neighbors, all these different nations are finna get judged. He was a herdsman, not even from the school of the prophets, but now he's out on the highways and the byways telling all these nations, Israel included, that they finna get judged.
Okay.
Let that sink in. Let that sink in, and then tell me how that's any different from you.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
You got it.
Yep. The scriptures say, man, hey, the prophets of old prophesied against many nations, a famine and pestilence. This is what's going on, man. Amos was one of those prophets of old. It says in verse 9, here's another nation being addressed.
That's what
Thus
I'm saying.
saith Yah.
He bringing all the burdens. He bringing a burden against everybody that need one.
Mm-hmm.
Then you say
That's right.
what his name mean?
Burdensome. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Was he not that?
That's it.
That's
That's
what I'm
it.
saying. And whether you, for those who can receive it, he might be walking the earth today doing the same exact thing.
Mm-hmm.
You got it.
Yep. I don't know why it's like taking eons to load. Let me go up. There's so many precepts just on this one verse. It's funny.
Right.
I literally got to scroll all. I don't even know why it brought up so many precepts. That's crazy. Let me just X out of that. This is Amos chapter 1 and verse 9. It says, "Thus saith Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Tyrus, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they delivered up the whole captivity to Edom, and remembered not the brotherly covenant." Okay, so now we have another nation being addressed, Tyrus. Okay.
That brotherly covenant that Edom broke go back to Jacob and Esau. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Esau got with the whole situation where Jacob over the birthright. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Esau vowed that he was gonna kill Jacob after Isaac died, and that spirit never died. So it made its way all the way up to this point. You see,
That's right.
when that whole race it, you know what I'm saying? Daughter of Babylon, all these prophecies, you see, that brotherly covenant was broken when Esau gave us up to these heathen.
Mm-hmm.
You got it.
Yep. And also, since Tyrus is being addressed, or the Ty, well, matter of fact, let's go to the map again. It's going to help us a little bit. So you have Phoenicia, which is consists of Tyre and Sidon. Okay, these were cities, that were really important for receiving. What's the word? They were port cities, basically. They're really important for receiving ships, and they had a lot of commerce coming through them. And so during the time of Solomon, the king of Tyre also kind of had dealings with Solomon, and there was a covenant that was made with Solomon in that time, during the time of King Solomon, when the house of the Lord was being built as well. And so that in itself was broken when they delivered the Israelites to the captivity of Edom. Esau always has his hands in getting the Israelites jacked up as well. But these other nations, man, they didn't go unpunished. They didn't go overlooked. The certain things they would do, little deals they would do to sell us off to another nation, that was remembered, and so yeah, of course Esau is our physical brother, but there were other pacts that we had made with other nations in righteousness that were broken. Ultimately we've been betrayed by all these nations at one point or another. Okay, and so the judgment of that, it says, "But I will send a fire upon the wall of Tyrus, which shall devour the palaces thereof." And back then cities were walled. So if you had a walled city, that you burn the walls down, the city is defenseless, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's another thing. All these nations being addressed. Now here's the kicker with the last two here. Last two nations here that are being addressed is Esau and Ammon. So we got Amos chapter 1, verse 11. It says, "Thus saith Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with the sword, and did cast off all pity, and his anger did tear perpetually, and he kept his wrath forever." Now that's like the scriptures that we bring out all the time. Obadiah, first chapter, where it talks about he always trying to put his his own mother's son. Matter of fact, let me see if I can find that real quick.
And check this out. It says, and did you just cut it off.
Oh,
in verse 11, it said, put verse 11 back up, Baba Kashaw.
Yeah, I got you. My bad, I was looking for this. Put this back up here. Share screen. Boom, boom, boom. All right.
All right, verse 11. It says, and did cast off all pity. Right. Matter of fact, yeah, it says, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with the sword, and did cast off all pity, and his anger tear perpetually. When you get into that word perpetually, that means ongoing. Ongoing. That's what I'm saying. So from Jacob to Esau, that never went away. You see, now when they done grew up in the nations, it still haven't gone away. Now you fast forward up to date, still the same thing. Still the same thing. Get that word perpetually right quick. That's what I'm saying. The only thing that's gonna stop that perpetual hatred is the Lord coming back. You see, until the Lord, until Yahweh sends Yahweh Shai to deliver us, that dynamic is gonna be consistent. Go ahead.
That word perpetually is Strong's H 5703. It actually says in the text la'id with a la in the beginning, but id is the root word meaning ever or evermore. So la at the beginning of the word means to evermore or forever, pretty much forever, perpetually. Forever, continuing, future, forever. Yeah, perpetuity.
That's what I'm saying. It's perpetually, forever, continuing, future. That applies.
Yeah.
Right. A continuous existence. That's what I'm saying. That's what lets you know. That's proof that Esau and Jacob are still in the planet. Because you got the moon, and the sun coming up every day. You got that perpetual hatred between Jacob and Esau still playing out over the planet. You see? It says forever of the Most High's existence. Come on, man. Come on, man. Yep. This is the Lord's will playing out. Go. You got it.
All right. Going back here. Oh, so I had that scripture that I was quoting here concerning Esau. I'm gonna just get this and just pull this up here. Psalms. It was Psalms, and we'll also get Obadiah, but Psalms chapter 50. This is Psalms chapter 50. Heck. Psalms 50 and 20. It says, actually, I'll start up. Verse 18. It says, Psalms 50 and 18, when thou sawest the thief, then thou consentest with him and hast been partaker with adulterers. Okay, talking about Esau, really, because if you read up, it says, but unto the wicked, the Most High saith, what hast thou to do to declare my statutes? Now, who's the wicked? Who's the seed of the serpent? Esau, man. Okay, so he has a particular categorization separate from the other nations, denoting that he is more wicked than all of them. Okay, and it says, when thou sawest a thief, these other nations, they stole us and sold us off to Esau. It says, then thou consentest. When you consent to something, that means you agree. You make a deal. You strike a deal. Right. It says, then thou consentest with him and has been a partaker with adulterers. Okay, thou givest thy mouth to evil, and thy tongue frameth deceit. That's why we call Esau the devil, man, because that's what this devil means, deceiver. Okay, and all he does is lie and speak evil on the earth. It says, thou sittest and speakest against thy brother. Okay, now who was Esau's brother? Jacob. Okay, Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. And so it says, thou sittest and speakest against thy brother, thou slanderest thine own mother's son. So that's your own brother. Okay, but you talking all manners of evil against him, saying when the days of mourning of my father are over, then I'm going to kill my brother. That's the spirit that Esau is in. Okay, and so this is a precept to Amos 1 and 11, man. All right. Let me see how long we've been going here. A little minute. All right, we can.
Almost an hour.
Yeah, Yeah, okay. We're gonna go on to the next verse. You brothers know the precepts on Esau. Okay, it says, but I will, verse 12, but I will send a fire upon Teman which Teman is a chief city in East and Edom, which shall devour the places of Bozrah, another city in Edom. Okay.
Chief city in Edom, I believe. Yeah, matter of fact, because what's Isaiah 63? It talks about the Lord coming back, going through Bozrah. You got it.
That's right. That's right. Okay, and then the last nation that's addressed here in this chapter is Ammon. Okay, so this is Amos, Amos chapter 1, verse 13. For thus saith Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of the children of Ammon, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they have ripped up the women with child of Gilead, that they might enlarge their border. All right, now let's get into this map one more time. Oh, and we skipped Edom, but Edom's down here to the south. Okay, you got Idumea and Edom. It's the same thing, really. To the south of the southern kingdom. Okay, and you have Ammon, the Ammonites. Oh, well, we didn't even identify the Edomites. Edomites is the self-proclaimed white people today, the Caucasians. Okay,
the Cajuns of Ka.
Right. No. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Salaki. Yeah.
Shout out, big bro Malcolm.
That's it. You know, the individuals from the mountains of Seir. Okay, this is Mount Seir. This area here is Edom, the nation of Edom. Okay, scriptures say Esau is Edom. So we also have Ammon, with the modern day Japanese, individuals today. Okay, Ammon and Moab both came from Lot. All right, so and then going into these nations, there's 18 nations. You got to go into the nations, be able to know when certain nations are named, which people group it's talking about. Okay, because we all dwelt in a lot closer proximity back then. Because guess what, man? This landmass was a very, very fruitful landmass to dwell in back then. So all the nations dwelt along this area. Most of them, not all of them. A lot of nations dwelt in this area, because also the population wasn't nearly as much as it is today. So it was a lot more, we were a lot closer. We were all in the Middle East. Okay, a lot of the nations were. And so Ammon is located to the east of the Dead Sea. Okay, and so you can kind of see here its proximity to Gilead. You can imagine the wars that happened in these plains here, the city here, Rabbah, also named Ammon here, took place. A lot of wars took place in the plains of Gilead. So, because basically it was always a land grab. They were trying to expand their lands, right? So going back to Amos 1, thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgressions of the children of Ammon, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they have ripped up the women with child of Gilead, that they might enlarge their border. Okay, and when it says ripped up the women with child, meaning they cut open their bellies, killed the babies. They might have just took pillaged the city. A lot of heinous acts were done by these Ammonites as well, man, when they were fighting. And you can find out all of these skirmishes in 1st and 2nd Kings, the different wars that happen, small wars that happen between these various different nations. Israel was always at war with these other nations, man, at one point in time or another. Okay,
right. I don't remember who posted it in the chat the other day, but it was basically each nation and how long they had Israel in captivity at the time they did, and all the nations were on there. All 17 nations. There's 18 nations including Israel, but 17 nations that aren't Israel all had Israel in captivity at some point in time, as documented history, written down by the Israelites. You got it.
Yeah, I'm just getting these demonic ass scoffer comments off the comment board. Okay, there we go. All right, cool. Yeah, the brother soldier of Yahweh Shai said Basra means sheepfold as well, where the sheep are being held. Okay. So the water for that, brother.
Right on.
you know. And so let's go to, hold on, back to Amos. Keep doing this one. Amos chapter 1 and in verse 13 at the end, it says, because they have ripped up the women with child of Gilead, that they might enlarge their border. And again, we already went to the map, seeing how close proximity Ammon was to Gilead. So they were trying to expand into to the north into Gilead to take the inheritances of Israel. So it says in verse 14, but I will kindle a fire in the wall of Rabbah, okay, which I believe that was here. You see here the city of Rabbah. I can't zoom in anymore, but you can see the red dot here.
You're not sharing your screen if you want us to look
my
at it.
bad.
Yeah.
I apologize. Yeah. My bad.
Oh no, you good. You good. Yeah, there we go. We can see you now.
Okay, Salakia. Yeah. So Ammon, you can see here to the east, is proximity to Gilead to the north, and then Rabbah is a city that was pretty much owned, or like a chief city in the nation of Ammon. And you can see how close it was to Jericho and Gilgal, but the Lord said He was going to judge the city of Rabbah, which is symbolic of the nation of Ammon, for it trying to expand its borders by killing the Israelites. And you can continue on reading in verse 14. But I will kindle a fire in the wall of Rabbah, and it shall devour the palaces thereof, with shouting in the day of battle, with a tempest in the day of the whirlwind. And their king shall go into captivity, he and his princes together, saith Yahweh.
I would say, the Lord tells you, He sends somebody to tell you you're gonna get judged. He tells you why, and then He tells you that, I said that, and they shall know that I am the Lord. Right? Thus saith the Lord. You see? So in this first chapter of Amos, He's getting into all our enemies, and Israel is like, yeah, get him, Amos. Talk your shit, Amos. Get out there one time. And rightfully so. Because the atrocities that these other nations have committed against us have to be dealt with. You see?
Yep.
The Lord has hardened the heart of these nations to go hard on us. You see, to the point to where our only option is to call on Him. It's a strategy. There's a method to the so-called madness. Okay? You got it.
Yeah, I'm gonna end this with this quick precept, and then I'm gonna speak a little bit about the Assyrian Empire. Wrap it up. I'm gonna get this in Jeremiah chapter 49. This is Jeremiah chapter 49. This is also a chapter. This beginning of the chapter talks about a prophecy against Ammon. Start at verse 1. It says, concerning the Ammonites, thus saith Yahweh, hath Israel no sons? Hath he no heir? Why then doeth their king inherit Gad, and his people dwell in his cities? So again, the Ammonites, at one point or another dwelt in the lands of Gad, okay, because they had taken over their cities. And it's a rhetorical question. Does Israel not have an inheritance? Does he not have a land that the Most High set up for them to live in? And the answer is yes. The Most High did give the tribe of Gad a land inheritance, but the Ammonites had taken it over. Okay, it says therefore, and these Amalekites that think they're not gonna get judged for all of the madness that they're doing over there in the Lord's land, man. They got another thing coming. Okay, right. But we on Ammon right now. It says, therefore, behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that I will cause an alarm of war to be heard in Rabbah, which we already established. Rabbah is a city in Ammon, Rabbah of the Ammonites, and it shall be a desolate heap, and her daughters shall be burned with fire. Then shall Israel be heir unto them that were his heirs, saith Yahweh. So that lets you know, man, the Lord is not, we get on Israel a lot and we get on Esau a lot, but there's many like I don't want to call them like buffer chapters, but a lot of chapters that we may not visit as much, or a lot of precepts that we may not quote off the top of our head as much. It doesn't mean it's not in there, man. You know, these other nations they definitely got another thing coming. And concerning the Assyrian Empire, I'm gonna end it off on just kind of circling it all back to the relevance of the Assyrian Empire. So you can see here, Amos. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. Amos here said he prophesied around 760 BC. If you go down to the bottom of this timeline, you can see pretty much the end of the reign of the kings of Damascus, the kings of Syria, and the beginning of the reign of the kings of Assyria. Because pretty much during the time of Amos and the king Uzziah, the Assyrians started taking over the neighboring nations. Okay, and so the Lord used the Assyrians to judge these nations that were written about in Amos chapter 1. Notice how Assyria was not mentioned as one of these nations that was going to get judged, because the Lord actually used Assyria to take down a lot of these nations before he used Assyria to actually take down Samaria itself, the northern kingdom itself. That happened about 50 to 60 years after. Okay, you see Hosea came right after Amos, because Hosea goes into a lot more about warning Israel before they just got pretty much just done away with. All right, but that shows you the importance of the Assyrian Empire. Just kind of foreshadowing that we're going to be talking about that in the next couple of lessons in this series. So that's pretty much all I have for this one, Zaquan.
Hey, Con. Hey, well, with that, we want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakahak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders at Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the Akim teaching about the Mayam Wa'amat. That's in sincerity and truth. Shalom.
Shalom.